Oh, oh, hey there, champ. I didn't see you there. Welcome back. This is Laugh It Up Devlog number 2. My name's Nicholas. Thanks for joining me. In this episode, we're going to talk about how we turned our idea into a reality. But in case you missed that first devlog, Laugh It Up is a totally original card game that we made in order to keep up with each other across long distance.
Jumping right into it, one of our first ideas was card animations. I was naive thinking it would be easy making card animations. All I need to do is have the card hover when you mouse over it, have it follow the mouse once you've clicked it, and finally throw the card at the table.
While Dingus Doofus was figuring out card animations, I was working on much more important things, such as our Funny Forge.
Dingus Doofus? I much prefer Idiot Boy.
Idiot boy!
What is the Funny Forge, you ask? It's our trademarked, patented, you can't have it because we said so, card editor. At its core, the Funny Forge is the root of how Laugh It Up functions. It is where I started to work out the various data structures that make up decks and cards, and how that data is passed and shared within Laugh It Up's core game loops. So, let's break down how I designed this game's core game loop. For those who don't use programming languages or scripting, the challenge of programming is to take understandable human ideas and concepts and convert them into terms that a computer can understand. The building blocks of many of these ideas in many programming languages is a variable, which are various types and combinations of ones and zeros, blah 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 nerd stuff.
You're right, this is nerd stuff. Let's just skip it.
That way of thinking is what helped me design Laugh It Up's core data systems. With all of that in mind, here's the question I sought to answer. How do I create a system that lets users design decks of cards and then play with them with their friends? To answer that, the first thing I asked myself is, what is a deck? A deck is just a collection of cards. Then what is a card in programming terms? This is where those user-defined variables, in this case a structure or struct, comes in very handy. Initially, a card struct to me was 3 variables bundled together. The text of the card, a text variable, the origin of a card, another text variable, and then the 3D mesh of that card. Since I wanted these variables to be as small as possible for save game file sizes and future multiplayer coding, I pared this initial definition down to 2 text variables, and then we just 3D generated meshes in game that we could populate with that text. There's a problem with that though. There are 2 types of card in our game, a reader card, which presents a prompt, and a player card, which provides an answer to that prompt. The reader card prompt would sometimes require multiple answer cards, and so I created a second struct that is identical to the first except it also contains an integer variable, which tracks the answer count of the reader card. That way, when that particular reader card is drawn in game, I could pluck that integer variable to tell how many player cards players could throw in response to the reader card. Now that I had the 2 structs I needed to define what a card is, it was just a matter of deciding how to define what a deck is. A deck, then, is its own custom struct that contains 2 arrays, one for player cards and one for reader cards. And from there, things came together pretty neatly. Any match played in Laugh It Up lets players choose which of these decks they want to see content from in any given match. You can select these using the user interface we're totally not using as a placeholder right now, and then when you launch the game, it takes all the decks you chose and shuffles them together to create a unique master deck that the main game then uses to randomly distribute cards and prompts throughout a match. When you use our patented, trademarked Funny Forge, all you're doing is creating player and reader card structs that then get bundled together into a deck struct at the end of the process. And then the game displays all user-created decks from all players to the host, and lets them choose which of these to add to the master deck of any given match you play.
Long story short, this is just the code for the card animations. It is more sensitive than your overly sensitive friend. You know who I'm talking about. The card throw looks semi-realistic, but if I tweak a value by just a little bit, it throws everything off, and this is what will happen. So as long as Nick likes the animation, I can move on.
I like it.
On the bright side of making these animations, I'm officially better at coding card hover animations than all of Ubisoft, which is about 19,000 people. While playing Uno, if you hover over the card in just the right spot, the card will bounce forever. And Laugh It Up, it will just stay hovered. Oh, and the card following the cursor is like 3 nodes to get it to work.
Since Laugh It Up was designed to have phases, adding game modes in was just a matter of appending some extra checks here and there. The hardest part of that has to do with replication, which I'm not in a mentally stable enough mood to talk about right now. I decided early on that I wanted Laugh It Up's core gameplay to work in distinct phases that would occur during every round of gameplay without fail. Roughly, these phases include Phase 0, in which all players load into the game and spawn cards into their hand after the master deck is created, shuffled, and synchronized for everyone in the match. Phase 1, in which a reader is chosen, spoilers, the host always goes first, and players are given permission to throw specific cards in response to the reader prompt. Phase 2, which occurs after all players have thrown their response cards, involves the camera zooming up to the table, where the game has now shuffled all thrown player cards in random order. It is during this phase that the reader can choose a card and award a single point to the card's original owner. And then, Phase 3, where many of the variables and conditions used in the previous phases are reset in order to smoothly loop back to Phase 1. This is, however, assuming that no player has yet reached the score limit of the match, which is something that is also checked in this phase. Once I got this phase system up and running, all I had to do was add some extra checks and tweaks here and there to enable new gameplay systems and establish the game's core game modes, another unique feature of Laugh It Up. One game mode, Do Better, for example, makes it so that there's a random chance a player will become the jerk, who then chooses a player to lose a point instead of winning one. Fun fact, it's possible to lose a game of Laugh It Up so badly that the game ends and your parents die and or stop loving you and or rise from the grave to come pee on you in front of your friends. We'll let you discover how you do that on your own, though. Other game modes even add new features, like the ability to trash your hand to get fresh cards, write in your own custom cards mid-game, or break the sequence of how the next reader is chosen. Be sure to unlock these when you get the chance, and experience new ways to enjoy the game. Speaking of unlockables,
I decided to start on unlockables. Every good game needs some kind of progression, and what better way to do that than adding in card skins. Skins are perfect because we can eventually make microtransactions for better, cooler skins, then slowly add in more decks that players have to buy and eventually make the game pay to win. I'm just kidding, we won't ever do that. Any update we add will be free, but we'll get more into that later. I added a simple level up system that I definitely did not copy off of a YouTube video. All that happens is when you win a round, you earn 25 XP. Once you have earned enough XP to reach the criteria, 100 to start with, then every level going up by 25 and maxing out at 500, you level up and get this fun animation. When you see this, it means you've unlocked a token. Most unlockables cost tokens, and we have 6 to choose from for all of your customization needs. We have player card colors, player card fonts, reader card colors, reader fonts, highlight colors for when you hover over card, and finally, the game modes. We still haven't decided how much we want every unlockable to cost yet, so don't get too intimidated thinking you have to get up to level like 239 to get what you want. Making the level up system was easy. Believe it or not, making the unlockables and getting them to work was the hard part. Let me know if you see a difference between these two pictures. Basically, to get the unlockables to work, I need to load your unlockable selection, I need to apply it to the card mesh, then I need to save it so next time you are in the unlockables, your current card color is already selected. When I break it down like that, it sounds easy, but getting this to work took me months to figure out. There are 95 individual things you can unlock. It was extremely easy to connect the nodes wrong, which means you could end up clicking the orange card and ending up with a pink card instead, as an example. Creating the unlockable system fought me the whole way, but it now works great and gives players something to work towards. I'm proud of what created, and hey, I bet some of the 19,000 Ubisoft developers didn't work on the unlockable system, so that means I'm twice as good as those people.
anyways, this was just a highlight of some of our big ideas that we turned into features and mechanics. Obviously, there's a lot more to making a game than 4 ideas. That being said, we've had our fair share of feature creep. The amount of game modes, all of our unlockables, how badass it is to make a funny Forge card, and a Mac version are all examples of this.
That's right, a Mac version. I wasted a couple of weeks trying to port the game over to Mac before deciding that there are more important aspects to work on. Sorry, Mac people. We decided that we needed to slow down on our feature creep so we can actually release this game. We still want to add in our feature creep features, but decided it will be up to all of you if we add them.
On our Steam page, we added a roadmap of what we would like to add. So if any of these look interesting, tell all of your friends, family, dogs, cats, and anyone you know without a Mac, unless we sell 5,000 copies, to check out the game. Our next episode will be all about the pains of making a multiplayer game. Thanks for watching.